This morning, the Republican-controlled House passed a bill that will keep the federal government up and running past the September 30th deadline. But it wipes out funding for the Affordable Care Act, President Obama's signature legislation. House Speaker John Boehner, surrounded by supporters at the Capitol, implored the Democrat-controlled Senate to support the House bill.
Our message to the United States Senate is real simple. The American people don't want the government shut down, and they don't want Obamacare.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid called the House bill dead, adding a second dead for emphasis. Meantime, President Obama was in Missouri blaming what he called a faction of the far right for trying to undermine the health care law. He said some GOP lawmakers are trying to derail him and are not focused on Americans' needs.
John Harwood joins us now from Washington with more on today's vote in the House and what it means and what's ahead for Congress. So, John, did the vote today in the House make things better or worse? And can lawmakers ever hope in reaching a deal on these very tough issues like the budget?
Well, I don't think it changed anything that we thought going into the vote today, Sue. This may be the last time that those members are going to have an opportunity to cheer like they did today, because Harry Reid is right. That bill is dead in the Senate. You could say dead 3 times if you wanted to. The president would veto it even if it passed. And now what we're going to do is have the Senate act. They're going to extend government funding. And it will be on the shoulders of John Boehner to convince those members who were cheering today to pass a extension of government funding without the Obamacare provision, which he tried last week to do, couldn't do it.
You described this earlier today, John, as kabuki theater, and it certainly seemed like an apt description. Do these shutdowns, if one does happen, do they ever save money, or do they end up costing taxpayers?
They cost money, Tyler, because they generate costs that have to be recouped later. We've seen this movie before. Since 1976, we've had 17 different shutdowns of the government. The emblematic one that we all remember was from 1995 when Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich faced off. Those shutdowns cost the government around $1.4 billion. And we know that a shutdown now would be more expensive on a per-day basis. Why is that? Because in 1995, half of the government spending bills had already been passed, so only half of the government was shut down. This would be all of the government, because not a single spending bill has passed both the House and Senate and been signed into law by the president.
So, John, you've been following this whole situation for so long, and you've been on the Hill for so long. What's your best guess? Are we going to see a 12th hour negotiation that avoids a shutdown, or do you think they'll let the shutdown go through?
Still possible, but I think it's unlikely, Sue. I think the likeliest event is that we do have a shutdown of some duration. Now, the shutdown itself would not be catastrophic. What would be catastrophic is if that were not followed by a decision to raise the debt limit. And so what I would expect to happen is a shutdown perhaps for a few days or a week. There'll be a lot of heat generated on the Congress. Markets will get nervous, and that shutdown then will be brought to an end. Republicans will end up folding on this and raise the debt limit at the same time. That's my best guess at this moment, but it's a highly unpredictable situation.
John Harwood, thanks very much. John reporting from Washington tonight.